I killed a project once that could have made us millions. Sounds crazy, right? Everyone on my team thought so. They fought me on it. They showed me projections, market research, customer demand. Everything said this project would succeed. And I killed it anyway. Best decision I ever made. Let me tell you why. We had limited resources, limited people, limited time, limited attention. And this project, even though it was good, even though it would probably succeed, was taking us away from something better, something that mattered more, something that could change everything instead of just making money. But here's the thing, you can't do both. You can't chase two rabbits. You can't build two revolutionary products at the same time. You have to choose. And choosing means killing something good so something great can live. That's what nobody tells you about success. It's not about saying yes to opportunities. Any fool can say yes. Success is about saying no, constantly, ruthlessly, to good things, not just bad things, to opportunities that make sense, to projects that would work, to people who deserve your time. You say no because you're protecting something more important. You're protecting focus. And focus is the most valuable thing you have. Most people think they're focused. They're working hard, putting in hours, checking boxes, but they're not focused. They're scattered. Their attention is split across 10 different priorities. Their energy is divided among 20 different projects. Their time is fragmented by 50 different obligations. And you know what you get when you divide your resources like that? Mediocrity. Not in any one thing, in everything. Because exceptional work requires concentrated energy. It requires undivided attention. It requires saying no to everything else. Here's a test. Think about last week. How many different things did you work on? How many meetings did you attend that weren't essential? How many requests did you say yes to that you should have declined? How many hours did you spend on things that didn't move your most important priority forward? Be honest. If you're like most people, it's probably more than half your time. Maybe more than 80%. That's not focus. That's chaos disguised as productivity. Now imagine if you took all that scattered energy and aimed it at one thing. Just one. Imagine if you said no to everything else and yes to only what mattered most. What could you build? What could you accomplish? What could you create? That's the power of no. Not the word itself, but what the word protects. Space, time, attention, focus, the raw materials of exceptional work. But saying no is hard, harder than people think, because opportunities look good, people's requests seem reasonable, projects appear worthwhile. It's not like you're saying no to obviously stupid things. You're saying no to things that could work, things that might be valuable, things that other people want. And that feels wrong. It feels like you're closing doors, burning bridges, missing out. Your brain screams at you to keep your options open, to stay flexible, to not commit. But that's exactly wrong. Commitment is how you win. Focus is how you build something meaningful. And both require saying no. Let me tell you what happened after I killed that project. The team was furious. Some people quit. Others thought I'd lost my mind. For a few weeks, it looked like a mistake. We had less to show. Our roadmap looked smaller. Our investors were nervous. But then something shifted. The team that stayed, they poured everything into the one thing that mattered. They weren't divided anymore. They weren't splitting time between projects. They were all in. And that concentration of energy created something nobody expected, something revolutionary, something that defined a generation. Would that have happened if I'd said yes to the good project? Never. We would have been too scattered, too diluted. We would have made money from the good project, sure, but we wouldn't have changed anything. We wouldn't have mattered. And mattering, creating something that actually changes things, that requires a level of focus most people never achieve because they can't say no. So how do you develop this skill? How do you learn to say no when everything in you wants to say yes? Start by understanding what yes costs. Every time you say yes to something, you're saying no to something else. That's not metaphorical. That's literal. Your time is finite. Your energy is finite. Your attention is finite. When you give those things to one thing, you're taking them away from another. So the question isn't, should I say yes to this? The question is, what am I saying no to if I say yes to this? And is that trade worth making? Most people never ask that second question. They just ask, is this opportunity good? Is this request reasonable? Is this project worthwhile? And if the answer is yes, they commit. But that's backwards. The first question isn't, is this good? The first question is this the best use of my limited resources? And the answer to that question is almost always no, because most things are good. Most opportunities have value. Most projects would work, but only a few things are the best use of your time. Only a few things deserve your full focus. Everything else, no matter how good, is a distraction. Here's another way to think about it. You're building something. Could be a company, could be a career, could be a body of work. Whatever it is, you're building it. And building requires materials, time, energy, attention. You have a limited supply of these materials. Now, would you use your materials to build 10 okay things or one exceptional thing? Obviously, one exceptional thing. 10 okay things don't matter. Nobody remembers okay. But one exceptional thing that changes everything. That's what people remember. That's what creates impact. That's what builds a legacy. So why do people say yes to building 10 okay things? Because they don't see it that way. They see each yes as separate. They don't see the cumulative effect. They don't see that each yes dilutes their focus a little more. They don't see that they're spending their limited materials on things that won't matter. And by the time they realize it, they've built nothing exceptional. Just a collection of okay things nobody cares about. The antidote is simple. One priority. Not 3 priorities, not 5, 1. The thing that matters most. The thing that, if you accomplished nothing else, would make everything worthwhile. That's your yes. Everything else is no. Doesn't matter how good the opportunity is. Doesn't matter how reasonable the request is. Doesn't matter how worthwhile the project seems. If it's not your one priority, it's no. But what if you can't say no? What if it's your boss asking? Your biggest client? Your key partner? Here's what you do. You negotiate. You don't just say yes. You say, if I do this, what should I not do? You make the trade-off visible. You make them choose. Because here's the secret. Most people asking for your time haven't thought about what it costs. They just want what they want. But when you make them choose between this and that, suddenly they realize what they're asking isn't as important as they thought. And often they'll agree that something else can wait. Or you change the scope. You say, I can do this, but not the way you're asking. I can do a simpler version. I can do it later. I can do part of it. You're not saying no entirely. You're saying no to the version they're asking for. And often that's enough. They get something, you protect your focus, everyone wins. The key is not accepting every request as stated. You negotiate. You modify. You protect your time even when you can't say no entirely. Now let me tell you the difference between good no and bad no. Bad no is defensive. It's about avoiding work, avoiding risk, avoiding discomfort. That's not what I'm talking about. Good no is offensive. It's about protecting what matters. Protecting your ability to do exceptional work. Protecting your focus. That's the no I'm talking about. Know the difference. One makes you lazy, the other makes you focused. And here's how you know which is which. After you say no, do you immediately turn to your priority? Do you use the protected time for what matters most, or do you waste it? If you're saying no to meetings but spending the time scrolling social media, that's bad no. If you're saying no to opportunities but not working on anything important, that's bad no. Good no is followed by focused yes, by deep work on your priority, by progress on what matters. The no itself isn't the point. What you do with the protected time is the point. Let me give you a framework that changed everything for me. Before saying yes to anything, I asked 3 questions. 1, does this directly serve my priority? Not indirectly, not tangentially, directly. If no, I decline. 2, am I the only person who can do this? Often, the answer is no. Someone else can do it, maybe not as well, but well enough. If I'm not essential, I decline. 3, what will I not do if I do this? Make the trade-off explicit. Often when I see what I'm giving up, the answer becomes obvious. Most things aren't worth the trade. These 3 questions filter out 90% of requests. The 10% that pass are usually worth saying yes to, but even then, I'm careful. I'm looking for reasons to say no, not reasons to say yes, because my default needs to be no. Most people's default is yes, and they look for reasons to decline. That's backwards. Your default should be no, and you should require strong reasons to say yes. Here's what happens when you do this for 6 months. Your calendar clears up dramatically. You're not in meetings all day. You're not juggling 10 projects. You're not responding to endless requests. You have space. Space to think, space to create, space to do deep work. And in that space, magic happens. You make progress, real progress. The kind you haven't made in years. Because for the first time, you're actually focused. And people notice. They see the quality of your work improving. They see you shipping things that matter. They see you making an impact. And here's the irony. Saying no makes people respect you more, not less. Because it signals your time is valuable. Your work matters. You're serious. People don't respect people who say yes to everything. They respect people who are selective, who have standards, who protect their time because they're building something important. So start today. Look at your calendar for next week. What can you cancel? What can you decline? What can you delegate? Cut half of it, at least half. Protect that time for your priority. Then next week, look at all your projects. Which ones actually matter? Which ones are just hanging around, creating guilt, draining energy? Kill them, not finish them. Kill them. Free up that mental space. Then look at your inbox. How many requests are sitting there? How many can you decline? Decline them, politely but clearly. Do this and watch what happens. In 30 days, you'll have made more progress than you made in the last 6 months. Not because you're working more, because you're focused. Because you're saying no to everything that doesn't matter so you can say yes to what does. That's the power of no. That's why it's more important than yes. Because yes is easy. Any fool can say yes. No is hard. But no is what builds exceptional work. No is what creates impact. No is what changes everything. I killed a project that could have made millions. And in doing so, I made billions. Not because I'm smart, because I said no. Let me tell you another story. Different time, different company, same lesson. We were working on something revolutionary, something that could change how people interacted with technology. But we needed one more feature, just one. Everyone said so. The engineers wanted it, the designers wanted it, the marketers said customers would demand it. It was obvious. We needed this feature, except we didn't. The feature would make the product more complex, more expensive, harder to use. It would delay our launch by months. And for what? So we could check a box on a feature list? So we could match what competitors were doing? I said no. We're not adding it. We're shipping without it. And people lost their minds. They said we'd fail. They said customers would hate it. They said we were making a huge mistake. But here's what I understood that they didn't. The feature wasn't important. Simplicity was important. Focus was important. Shipping was important. And adding that feature would compromise all three. So we said no. We shipped without it. And you know what happened? The product succeeded beyond anyone's expectations. Not in spite of the missing feature. Because of the missing feature. Because we stayed focused. Because we didn't dilute the vision. Because we said no. That's the pattern. Every time we said no to something good, something great became possible. Every time we killed a project, we freed up resources for something better. Every time we declined a partnership, we protected our independence. Every time we rejected a feature, we made the product simpler. No wasn't negative. No was protection. Protection of what mattered most. Now compare this to most companies, most people. They say yes to everything. They add every feature customers ask for. They pursue every partnership that makes sense. They start every project that seems promising. And what do they build? Bloated products nobody wants. Scattered companies that lack direction. Careers that look busy but accomplish nothing because they never said no. They never protected their focus. They never killed good things to make room for great things. Here's what I want you to understand. The hard part isn't recognizing bad opportunities. Anyone can do that. The hard part is recognizing good opportunities that are wrong for you right now. Opportunities that would work but would distract from your priority. Partnerships that make sense, but would complicate your focus. Projects that would succeed, but would dilute your resources. These are the no's that matter. These are the no's that determine whether you build something exceptional or something mediocre. And these no's are painful, because you're not saying no to something obviously stupid. You're saying no to something obviously valuable. People will think you're crazy. They'll question your judgment. They'll fight you. Let them. Your job isn't to make everyone comfortable. Your job is to protect the vision, to maintain focus, to build something that matters. And sometimes that requires saying no to things everyone else thinks are yes. Let me give you another test. Think about the last month. How many times did you say yes when you should have said no? How many meetings did you attend that didn't need you? How many projects did you start that weren't essential? How many favors did you do that drained your energy? Count them. That number is your opportunity cost. That's how much focus you gave away. That's how much progress you sacrificed. That's how much of your one life you spent on things that didn't matter. Now think about the last month differently. What if you had said no to all of those things? What could you have built with that time? What could you have created with that energy? What could you have accomplished with that focus? That's the real cost of yes. Not what you said yes to. What you could have done if you'd said no. Here's another framework. Every opportunity has a price. Not just money, time, energy, attention, focus. These are the prices you pay. Before saying yes to any opportunity, calculate the full price. How much time will this actually take? Not just the meeting or the event, but the preparation, the follow-up, the context switching. How much mental energy will this consume? How much will it distract you from your priority? How much focus will you lose? When you calculate the full price, most opportunities become clearly too expensive. They look good because you're only seeing part of the cost. You're seeing the hour-long meeting. You're not seeing the 2 hours of preparation, the 3 hours of follow-up, the day of context switching while your brain adjusts. You're not seeing the opportunity cost of what else you could have done with those 6 hours. When you see the full price, saying no becomes easier because the trade-off becomes obvious. Let me talk about email for a minute. Every email you respond to invites more emails. Every question you answer generates follow-up questions. Every favor you do creates expectations for more favors. This is the hidden cost of yes. It's not just the immediate thing. It's everything that comes after. One yes multiplies into 10 more requests. And before you know it, your inbox controls your life. Your day is spent responding to other people's priorities instead of pursuing your own. The solution is aggressive no. Most emails don't need responses. Most questions don't need answers. Most requests don't need to be fulfilled. Let them sit. Let them go unanswered. The truly important ones will follow up. The rest will resolve themselves or weren't that important anyway. This sounds harsh, it sounds rude, but it's necessary. Because if you try to respond to everything, you'll spend your whole life reacting instead of creating, responding instead of building, serving other people's agendas instead of pursuing your own. Now let me address guilt, because that's what stops most people from saying no. They feel guilty. They feel like they're letting people down. They feel like they're being selfish or unhelpful or difficult. And that guilt makes them say yes to things they should decline. Let me reframe this. Who are you letting down when you say yes to everything? Yourself, your priority, your potential. The exceptional work you could have created if you had been focused. That's who you're letting down. By trying to keep everyone else happy, you're betraying your own possibility. And here's the thing about guilt. It's usually misplaced. Most people aren't actually counting on you the way you think they are. Most requests aren't as important as they seem. Most meetings aren't as essential as people claim. You're feeling guilty about saying no to things that don't actually matter that much. Meanwhile, you're sacrificing things that matter enormously. Your focus, your progress, your potential. That's backwards. If you're going to feel guilty about something, feel guilty about saying yes to things that waste your limited time. Let me give you permission to be selfish. Not selfish in the sense of not caring about anyone else. Selfish in the sense of protecting your ability to create value. Because here's the truth. You can't help anyone if you're scattered. You can't contribute anything meaningful if you're distracted. You can't create value if you're fragmented. You have to be focused first. You have to protect your ability to do exceptional work. And then, from that foundation, you can help others. You can contribute. You can give back. But if you try to do it while scattered, you end up helping no one. Not them, not yourself, no one. So be selfish about your time. Be protective of your focus. Be ruthless about your priorities. This isn't meanness. This is necessity. This is how exceptional work gets done. This is how you build something that matters. And ultimately, that serves everyone more than being accommodating ever could. The world doesn't need your accommodating yes. The world needs your exceptional work. And exceptional work requires relentless no. Here's what 6 months of saying no looks like. Your calendar has space, real space, not gaps between meetings, whole days with nothing scheduled. You use that space for deep work, for focused creation, for making real progress. Your inbox has fewer emails because people have learned you don't respond to everything. The important stuff gets through, the rest falls away. Your project list is short, 2 or 3 things, not 20. And those things are moving, actually making progress. Because you're not scattered anymore, you're focused, and your work improves dramatically. Not because you suddenly became more talented, because you're giving your best energy to what matters most. You're going deep instead of staying shallow. You're creating instead of maintaining. You're building instead of reacting. And people notice. They see the quality, they see the impact, they see you doing work that matters. And that attracts more of the right opportunities, better opportunities, opportunities that actually align with your priority, opportunities worth saying yes to. That's the irony. Saying no to most things makes the right things find you. Because you're no longer buried in obligations. You're no longer too busy to recognize what matters. You're no longer too scattered to pursue exceptional opportunities when they appear. You have space, focus, energy. And that positions you to say yes when it actually matters. But you have to go through the hard part first. The part where you say no to good things. The part where you disappoint people. The part where you feel guilty. The part where you question whether you're making a mistake. You have to go through that to get to the other side, to the space, to the focus, to the exceptional work. There's no way around it, only through it. So here's my challenge. For the next 7 days, say no to everything that isn't your priority. Everything. No exceptions, no justifications, no guilt, just no. This will feel extreme. That's the point. You need to feel what real focus feels like. What it's like to have your full energy aimed at one thing. What it's like to make real progress. You need to experience that so you understand what's possible. So you understand what you've been missing. So you understand why no is so important. 7 days, one priority. Everything else gets no. Can you do it? Most people can't. They'll make it 2 days and then say yes to something. They'll justify it. They'll say this one thing is important. This one thing is different. But it never is. It's just another distraction. Another dilution of focus. Another yes that should have been no. So commit. 7 days. No compromises. No exceptions. See what happens. See what you build. See how it feels. And then decide if you want to go back to scattered yes or stay with focused no. I killed a project that could have made millions. I said no to a feature everyone wanted. I declined partnerships that made perfect sense. I rejected opportunities that seemed obvious. And each time, people thought I was wrong. Each time, I doubted myself. Each time, I wondered if I was making a mistake. But I wasn't. I was protecting focus. I was maintaining clarity. I was saying no to good so great could emerge. And that made all the difference. That's what built everything. Not saying yes to opportunities, saying no to distractions. Let me leave you with one final thought. Your life is the sum of what you pay attention to, not what you intend to pay attention to. Not what you wish you paid attention to, what you actually spend your time, energy, and focus on. That's your life. So if you're spending it on things that don't matter, that is your life. Scattered, unfocused, mediocre. But if you protect your attention fiercely, if you say no to almost everything so you can say yes to what truly matters, then your life becomes something different, focused, intentional, exceptional. The choice is yours. You can keep saying yes to everything and wonder why you never accomplish anything meaningful. Or you can start saying no and finally build something that matters. One path is comfortable. One path is hard. One path leads to mediocrity. One path leads to exceptional. Choose now, because every day you wait is another day spent on things that don't matter. Another day of scattered attention. Another day further from the exceptional work you could be creating. Say no. Protect your focus. Build something that matters. That's the path. That's the choice. That's how you change everything. Thank you.